This video is going to be about tomatoes, which happens to be one of the most popular things for people to grow in their gardens. When I was in Virginia recently, I met up with an organic farmer there in the rural hills, and he taught me what he likes to do with his tomatoes. Now, there are some people who believe that you just leave nature alone and let it do its job, right? The tomato's going to do what it wants to do, just go ahead and let it. But this farmer doesn't believe that, and he showed me how he trims his tomatoes for the biggest result. It might not necessarily be the most tomatoes, but it'll be bigger and better tomatoes. So this tomato happens to be in the ground. It's a hybrid. It's called Super Sauce Roma, and I love these tomatoes. They are absolutely enormous. They do not yield as many as some other varieties might, but they are so big that they're just impressive. So the first thing, this plant has not yet been trimmed at all. And as you can see right here, those flowers mean that it's going to have some fruit there. So the one thing that he told me first was that you pick off the suckers. Okay, there are a lot of people who believe that. So let's go and see what a sucker is. If you see right here, so that's a sucker. And you want to catch the suckers, I think, before they're too big. But that's one. So it's another offshoot that grows in the crux, I guess. So here's one, and then here's another sucker. So I'm going to take these handy little tools here, and I'm going to snip off those suckers. Okay, put them to the side. Then down here at the bottom, you can see there are some like offshoots down here. Now, these aren't really going to yield anything, and they're going to take nutrients away from the part of the plant that's actually going to be yielding fruit. So we're going to take those off too. The next thing is that when you find a bunch with flowers on it, right here, he said all you need to keep is about 3 branches underneath that. If there are any more branches of the tomato plant under this bunch of flowering parts, get rid of them. So this is a little challenging, right? Because we've got some offshoots in here. I don't know what's going on. This is kind of a messy plant. I'm going to have to work on it. But, so here's the flowers right here. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Okay? So what I can do is take the rest of these off. I know this might completely freak some of you out. Oh my God, I can't believe she's doing that. There aren't any flowers at the end of these, okay? If there were, I would be reconsidering this. We make sure there's no flowers at the end of this one. Nope. And no flowers at the end of that one. Nope. Taking that off, and I'm taking that off. Okay? So already we've got a much cleaner plant. So what that tends to do is it tends to give more light, okay, to the plant. It gives more air to the plant. And it focuses the plant's nutrients and the plant's water on the flowering parts of the plant, and that's what you care about most. You don't care so much about the foliage. You know, you just want to have the biggest and the best tomato plants. Now, something I want to tell you before I quit this video, and I do have more trimming to do on this plant, it's just I wanted to do this for informational purposes, is that tomatoes that grow in the ground versus in a container tend to be a little bit more healthy to me. I'm going to come over here. So I have 2 in the ground here they were basically afterthoughts. I had extra tomatoes, couldn't get rid of them, so I'm like, I'm going to plant them in my bed where I have green beans and other things. But over here, it's very windy this morning. I have a bunch of tomatoes that are in containers. Now, I have to grow the tomatoes in the containers because I don't have enough room to plant all of my tomatoes in the ground. So if I had the opportunity to plant my tomatoes in the ground, I probably would do it. However, I'm probably going to have to continue to plant my tomatoes in containers. But as you can see, I've got a little bit of trouble with some leaf curling. And I don't believe it's from disease. I believe it's from inconsistent water. And my 5-gallon buckets down here, when it's really, really hot, do not seem to hold liquid very well. So it's a lot more maintenance to grow them in containers. Here's a little sucker. See, this is when you want to get them, when they're like that. So if you grow the tomatoes in the containers, I think that they'll be okay in the long run, but they're a little bit more high maintenance than growing them in the ground.